What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Accountability Connection. This is episode 2. I'm Chandler Hutchison. That's Brett Goodhue on the other end. And we're back, Brett. We're here to talk a little bit about what we did last week. And, episode 1's not really out there in the ether, man. We haven't shared it yet. We haven't gotten it moving. And, there's a million different reasons, but we've been lazy about it. I've been lazy about it. I had some stuff going on this week, but man, let's hop right in and let's talk about our goals from last week, man. How were we feeling? Because I know for you, your goal is take it easy on your quads, man, and focus more on cardio, less lifting. So what was that looking like for you this week?
Yeah, I think I'm stuck in a perpetual David Goggins mode where I'm just obsessed with going as hard as I
Mm,
possibly can. On the days I train hard, I still take days where I just do a mobility workout or whatever, but then I run on the mobility workout and that kind of defeats the purpose. But I did try to take it easy on my quads. I did not accomplish that goal. My quads still hurt and
Add a little
it's
knee
not
pain in
going
there,
well.
sprinkle it in.
Yeah, I've had the overuse injuries a million times over. And at some point you'd think I'd learn, but instead I just have the procedures done. They make my tendons iron for a little while and then they decide they're not iron anymore. But I did that. And then my other goal was to start interval training, and that actually went really well. I was pumped. Getting to a 6 minute mile was going to be a grind,
Mm,
but it's very doable. I'm getting there. I did what was it, quarter mile intervals at 10 miles an hour, which I didn't think that running that fast was possible for me, but it was, and I was very happy about it. So very surprised. How'd yours go?
horrible, man. Absolutely horrible, man. We got to be honest on this thing, right? So my girlfriend and I had a blow up, man. A couple days, it was tough, and man, I did not focus on this stuff at all, and rightly so. You can't make these things a priority all the time, but man, it sucks because it was such simple shit I wanted to do, man. Like I didn't get my
Yeah.
like simple 2 minute workout in the morning. Like I ran all 7 days and logged it. I ain't gonna stop doing that, man. As you know, I hit a couple 5 milers in the past few days, so my legs are feeling good. But I mean, I got most of the pod figured out online, so that was like 75% on that
Mm.
goal. But man, overall, I hit like two and a half of the 5 goals I wanted to do. So man, I just didn't put enough effort towards it, man. And I mean, it's going to be a big theme of this episode. I mean, there's no one to blame. There's nothing to blame, man. That's on me. I didn't make those priorities, and I'm going to this week, man. And you know, it it did not go well. I failed, Brett. I failed those goals to start, man. And hey, that's what this is, man. I mean, I've talked about it. I don't have an accountability system, and I want this to be it. So I want to come on here, man. Hopefully, once even if it's two people listening, because episode 1's got 2 listeners, man. You and me right now, because
Oh,
we
that's
haven't
pretty
shared
good.
it at all.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, dude.
Two's
And
better than zero. We both did it.
but man, that's the thing. Like, even if it's 5 people listening, even if it's 10 people listening, like I hope that that's a way to keep holding me accountable, because I don't want to come on here and lie, man. I don't want to come in here
No,
and be
absolutely
saying I
not.
did a bunch of shit I didn't do. You know what I mean? So hey, man, I'm gonna get better. I'm gonna keep it moving, but didn't do great on the goals, and we'll talk about our goals for this week going into next before episode 3. But bro, let's get into dude episode 1. You and I both listened back to it, man. I mean, it was a short episode. It was what, 38 minutes, something like that. It
Yeah,
was
something like that. And it was
nothing
mostly
crazy, nothing
pro.
crazy, man. I mean, how you feel listening back to yourself talking for half an hour?
When I say that this is so out of my comfort zone, going back and listening to that work, like you ever get that feeling where you get like secondhand embarrassment from other
Mm,
people, and you're removed because like you
yeah.
can't, your voice doesn't sound how you picture it when you hear it on like a video or something. And I'm sitting there, I'm listening to him like, oh, this guy sounds funny. And all of a sudden I'm like, oh yeah, well, that's me. That's tough. So definitely interesting, definitely a little scatterbrained on the first episode, but
Mm.
I'm going to listen to all these multiple times in a row to see where I can try to improve and try to be better and just continue to just get to the next level wherever that is.
And that's the thing, man. I mean, we're going to be talking a lot about fitness and discipline and all this stuff on this podcast, but we're trying
Mm.
to become well rounded in some different areas, and we're trying to improve every little areas of our life. So, I mean, Dude, I tell you, I listen back to right off the bus every single week, obviously, edit it,
Hmm.
go back, listen to it afterwards, see how it sounds. The amount of times I say man and dude and
Yeah, I
all
said dude a
those,
lot.
you know what's good is that I'm not using verbal pauses like or but instead I'm doing dude, man, or using just the same phrase over and over again. So I get it. And it's weird hearing yourself speak. I got the advantage of doing radio for a couple of years, and obviously I got 45 episodes of another podcast going. But yeah,
Mm.
dude, it's weird hearing yourself back, isn't it? I mean, you're listening to yourself and like, oh, they're saying some good stuff. And you're like, oh, that's my voice. It's weird. It's really
Yeah,
weird.
I didn't like it. It was weird, but I gotta get used to it if we're gonna keep doing this. So
Absolutely, man. It's
give it a
something you got
shot.
to get used to. And Brett, why don't I let you take it, man? Let's get you talking for a minute. What we want to talk about this episode, and it's fitting for me after not hitting a couple goals last week. But the theme for this episode, last week is kind of about accountability and discipline and these different things. Again, it started in there, but this week it's blame and responsibility. And I talked about it a little bit on my IG story. You saw I tagged you in it, man. And I
Yep.
mean, let's get into it. I know Hal Elrod's one of your favorite authors, and this is a big theme of his work too. So why don't you take it from there?
Yeah, Hal Elrod. That's my guy. I love that dude. He's something else with the way that he puts things. I can't wait to re-listen to his book when I get the
Big
chance.
impact on you, man. Big
Oh my
impact
God.
on your life.
It was crazy too because I found that book after I started doing the early morning like get up and move things. But like once I listened to it, it was like it reinvigorated my like desire to keep doing it, and it was
Mm,
fantastic. Great book, great book. But yeah, blame versus responsibility. So the other day I put up one of the posts on the 5 a.m. mindset page, and it like talked about it a little bit. But I was sitting there and I was like, man, like I need to talk about this because it's something that I struggled with for a long time when I was young, and I'm still
mm,
young, and I still struggle with it. I actually, and that's kind of why I wanted to get into this too with the transition, which I've already botched, but that's okay. um, but so the other day, or yeah, like a couple weeks ago, I was driving to work and I'm stuck in traffic, and I'm sitting there, I'm cursing the bus driver, has all these kids in front of me. I'm cursing the Buick that's cutting me off and the Prius that wants to get in front of me and all these other people. And it's everybody else's fault that I'm stuck in traffic and I'm going to be late to work. Right?
mm.
That's what it's. There's no way it's my fault for leaving at whatever time where everybody else is going to work. It's their fault for doing the same thing that I'm doing.
Those
And that
damn
doesn't.
kids going to school, man.
Yeah, dude.
Honestly.
It's it was ridiculous. And I was thinking about it while I was there and I was all angry. I'm slapping my steering wheel, beeping at people. And I'm like, in what world does me getting frustrated about this
Mm,
change anything? Because if I just get mad at this, I leave and I get to work and I'm late and I just say, you know what? It's my fault. My bad. I'll be here tomorrow. And just count on there not being this random traffic. That's crap. That's not how things get fixed. That's just saying, like, oh, yeah, I'm at fault. That's my thing, which is great instead of blaming everybody else. But you don't take responsibility for the situation and say, I'm going to make a change so this doesn't happen again. That is the biggest key to it. And with that, it goes into The Miracle Morning by Hal Elrod. That's where this originally came up. And it was probably 3, 4 months ago, I read that book. And it took that long for me to apply it somewhere. Be
mm.
like, oh, and like actually do some introspective thinking and be like, why am I angry when I can make a change? And yeah, it's one of those, it's just it's situational awareness, just
Yeah.
knowing that you need that your habit is wrong and it needs to change. And yeah, so why don't you talk about blame?
Yeah, man. Well, I mean, I think not to get too meta on this, but as you're
Mm,
talking, I'm thinking about how just society at large right now. I mean, we just get mad about every little thing.
yep,
We order something, it gets there in a day. We have food delivery. We don't have to leave our house to do a full productive day, right? And I
yep,
mean, I think like with just with how society's shaping up right now, I mean, you're gonna get mad at every little thing. Like you being in the
Yes.
car, just getting pissed at kids going to school or people going to work when you're doing the same thing. And I think it's a big reflection of that, man. And I mean, we put blame on everything, absolutely everything. And when I was going through this outline that you wrote up here, man, and I was just thinking about Extreme Ownership by Jocko Willink. And I mean, how many times are we going to mention that book? And how many times are we going to mention
Endless.
Jocko on this podcast? Probably at least once an episode. I mean,
Mm.
it's going to be a high average for Jocko on this pod, man. But at the end of the day, like, no one cares about what you got going on. You think someone cares that you're in the car next to them honking? You think someone cares that, oh, you're blaming this situation or the weather or the sun going down too early to not go out and get after it? no
Yeah.
one no one cares. And it's just a way for me, for you, for anyone that's doing it, to just shrug off responsibility, to just shrug off owning that problem. And I think about Jocko because he says you have to own 100% of everything.
Yep.
Everything that happens to you is on you, because no one else has the power to change that, man. I mean, and that's what I think of with blame. I'm like, you can put blame in any area, but it's so freeing and so liberating to put that on yourself. Like, take the blame, take ownership of that situation and that problem. And man, it can just change your full perspective on everything. It really can, because maybe you leave 5 minutes earlier for work. Maybe there's a small change that happens, but dude, it can make such a big difference at the end of the day. It really
It,
can.
it can, and it's amazing too, because there are three levels to this situation where you're making a mistake.
Mm.
And you can sit there and you can shirk responsibility, which is what most people do. You sit there and you'll be like, it's the bus driver's fault, it's the kid's fault for taking his damn time or whatever. And then it goes to, okay, well, you accept the blame, which is good. Like, take the blame all you want. And you can sit there and be like, yeah, it's my fault. It's fine.
Mm.
Like, but you don't do anything about it. So you're sitting there and you're like, yeah, I'll take the blame for that. But what are you going to do? That's going to happen next week. And you're going to sit there and be like, it's my fault. At some point, people are going to get sick of your crap and they're going to sit there and be like, it is your fault. Get out. You just keep doing the same stupid stuff all over again. But then when you take responsibility for the situation, like you said, you leave 5 minutes earlier. So instead of putting it into God's hands and say,
Mm.
oh, I really hope that this guy doesn't hit a deer on his way to work and we all have to traffic. Like, no, like, you can't leave it up to chance. You have to put it beyond a reasonable doubt and sit there and be like, for something as simple as getting to freaking work,
Mm.
like, you should be able to get to work on time. No, it's not a super difficult task. But if you don't take responsibility for what's going on around you, then you're never going to be able to accomplish anything.
Yeah, and
It's unbelievable.
like you said, like it's also about making sure it doesn't happen again. And it makes me think of this fantastic book. I mean, The Compound Effect, man. Like, when those bad habits and those situations where you're putting blame elsewhere, when that
Mhm.
adds up time and time and time again, like, you think about how good habits snowball and you can start making some great changes, big strides. What do you think happens with bad habits? They do the absolute same thing. And when you are constantly putting blame on someone else, on other situations, whatever it is, when I hop on here and say, I fought with my girlfriend, so I couldn't do 10 push-ups, that I couldn't go out and do something so simple like weigh myself or whatever. I mean, there is no excuse. You got to own absolutely everything there, man. You really do.
Yeah. And that is the big thing that I think about when I'm talking about this stuff. It's liberating. It really is.
Mm.
If you sit there and you own it, like if I'm trying to run, like when I shouldn't say when I'm trying, when I first started running, I couldn't even
Mm.
run a quarter mile steady state at any pace. I couldn't do it. And I could have sat there and be like, oh, it's because I was born with bad legs. Oh, I was born with this. Oh, I'm just big. Like, I'm 230 pounds. Like, I can't run. No, you sit there and be like, no, I made a mistake and I gained too much weight. Now I have to make a change if I want to do this.
Mm.
It's just, you have to own it. It's your fault, yes, but you can still change it even though you're at fault.
What's the key to that mindset shift right there, bro? What's the key to knowing what to change, when to change it, how to do it? I mean, what is it?
You have to get wicked comfortable with being by yourself.
Mm.
It's huge. And in those moments, like, I meditate here and there, but my meditation is when I stretch, which usually involves some kind of music or whatever. But I think, and I sit there, I'm like, all right, well, what can I change? Like, where am I lacking? So if I'm trying to build a bench, like if I'm trying to build a really strong bench, I'm just not going anywhere. I can't sit there and be like, oh, well, I must have maxed out my genetic potential with bench pressing. Like, no, you haven't. I guarantee you haven't. But what you can do is you can sit there, you can test your mobility in your shoulders, you can test your unilateral strength, you can do all these different things and sit there and really think about it and try to make a strategy to improve. And
Mm.
it's just getting really comfortable with being inside your own head in the quiet.
I got to tell you, man, that's one of the biggest things that running did for me. Running, like in high school, if I was going through it, man, it's something was going out, I would sit in my driveway and just shoot around playing basketball for 2 hours, right? That was my alone time. That was my time to think, to meditate, to process whatever. And then in college, man, I mean, post tearing my ACL, going into my senior year of high school, you remember, like I just fell out of love with weightlifting, man. I fell out of love with basketball and all these forms of exercise. I just fell in love with running because, dude, like you got to get so comfortable being by yourself. That's one of the things people, I mean, how many reasons do people give for not liking running, man? I mean,
Oh,
the
yeah.
list just goes on and on and on. And I get it. Running's not for everyone. Yeah, right.
Nope.
And I get that, man. But one of the biggest reasons is like, oh man, I just hate like being by myself. I hate just like exercising by myself. I gotta have music. I gotta do this. And I listen to music. I listen to podcasts. I listen to audiobooks. But man, you got to get so comfortable being in your own head. You got to be so comfortable sitting with your own thoughts and being able to process and meditate on whatever's going on. And that's one thing that just running did so much for me, man. And I feel like having that time lets me become more accountable and lets me take more responsibility for what I'm doing and what I'm thinking. And when I can plan out, what exercises I'm doing or when I'm going to hit the rock gym rather than saying, oh, yeah, I worked too much this week. I couldn't hit the rock gym. No, you had time, man. You had
Yeah.
time if you wanted to have time. And that's the thing. It's like, we talked about it last week on episode 1, man. You got the same 24 hours that everyone else has. If you want to go out and get after it, you can. But if not, yeah, go ahead. Blame your work schedule, blame your boss, blame your girlfriend, blame your boyfriend. Go ahead. Go ahead. But until you start making yourself uncomfortable and getting inside your own head, there's no room for growth, man. This is one of my favorite things. I mean, if you are not uncomfortable, you cannot grow. I mean, you have to be uncomfortable to grow. And I feel like taking responsibility and extreme ownership over your actions and whatever situation you're in, I feel like that is just such a massive part of growth. I feel like that is just so key, man. I really do.
It's huge, man. And it all ties into making good habits. It's
Mm,
like it's like you program some purposeful silence into your day
mm.
where it's almost just you and you can just think. And that's all you need. And you can accomplish a lot in that little bit amount of time.
And I just wrote that down right there. Purposeful silence, man. Purposeful silence. Oh, dude, I love that. That might be the name of the episode right there, bro.
By
Purposeful
all means,
silence.
dude.
I
That's my
absolutely love that.
that's my biggest thing. Like I don't like when I'm at the gym, like that's my time. I do not
Mm.
like to talk to people. And it's my time to just reflect and go crazy once in a while, which is always fun. But yeah, and that's pretty much it. I
That's
mean,
Go ahead.
yeah, no, that's pretty much it. I don't really know where else to go from there. That's build
So,
good habits.
what about some situations where you were not holding yourself accountable and you ultimately had to make that change and put the blame on yourself? Can you talk about a situation or two? I'll do the same about some personal situation where, man, you were just not holding yourself accountable at all and had to make that change.
Yeah, actually, it's funny. I didn't even think about bringing this up. So, R.I.P. Coach Byron. We
Mm,
love. I love Coach Byron, but I didn't when it mattered. Like when I still could talk to him,
yeah,
and
yeah.
it was funny because he taught me something without realizing he taught me something. So when I was a junior, and I thought I was hot shit playing basketball or whatever, and I could dunk and do all this other crap that didn't matter. And I thought I was good. And I walked into the gym. I hadn't been in the weight room once. I just played pickup here and there and worked on whatever. I walked in. I thought I belonged on that team. And he said, "No, you don't. You need to develop more. You need to go to JV or whatever." I pretty much gave him the finger and said no. And
Yeah.
I walked out and I said, "I'm not doing it." And all the coaches and players and everybody else told me that I was making a mistake. And I was so hard headed in blaming him and saying it's his
Mm,
fault that I'm not playing. It's his fault that I'm not doing this, I'm not doing that. And it wasn't. It was my fault. I wasn't good enough. And if you don't put it beyond a reasonable doubt, you're not going to get there. And what did I do? I never took accountability. I had people in my ear telling me that it is his fault. He just has it out for you. And I went back the next year and I said, all right, I'm just going to go lift weights and do nothing else and not get good at basketball. Well, lo and behold, I didn't play again. And it took forever for me to learn that lesson. I think I couldn't stand him for years after that. And I was like, oh, this guy wronged me. This, he did that. No, I couldn't move. I couldn't jump. I couldn't do anything. Like, I wasn't that good. And I wouldn't have been a great asset on the team. And for me to sit here and say that was something else. That would never have happened when I was younger.
I can
And at
attest
some
to
point,
that.
yeah, dude. And I think anybody can. I ran around, I ran my mouth, I mouthed off to him too, because I thought I knew better. And it's like, how do you think that you know basketball better than a guy that's been doing this for 30 years? Your ego is so big that you can't sit there and humble yourself and be like, all right, maybe he's right. Like, maybe I do need to do this. Or the amount of times I hurt myself and I couldn't be on the court. Like, availability is one of the best abilities you can have in a sport, and you can't even do that right. And it's like, what do you expect? So at some point I said, and I made it a huge focus for me, and it's, don't even put it up to chance. So I took accountability for that. I couldn't change it. I graduated and I couldn't play basketball anywhere else, because if I'm not good enough to play in high school, I can't play anywhere else. But I always have that in the back of my mind where I'm thinking, okay, I screwed up here. I'm never going to make that mistake again. Everything is beyond a reasonable doubt. And that's it. I really hold myself accountable for that. That was one of the biggest mistakes I could have made when I was a kid.
And taking that full responsibility and blame, man. I mean, I feel like that shows all the growth right there. Because I can tell you, man, knowing you for however long we've been best friends, man, that would not have come out 5 years ago. There was no chance. 3 years ago, 4 years ago, I don't know, 2 years ago, maybe, but
yeah,
that was not coming out a long time ago.
No, and it's unfortunate. Like, I went to his funeral because he was a great guy. No doubt about that. I went to his funeral. He had throat cancer, I think, and he unfortunately passed away. But I went to his funeral and I thought about it with our buddy Sean. I was like, dude, I wish I could go back and tell him, like, you had a big impact on how I look at things, and it took forever for me to figure that out. And it's crazy, and it's something so small as basketball could affect me like that from the point I was 18 to 22. Like, crazy. So how about you? What do you got for an accountability situation?
Hey, sports are a big reflection of life, man. And one way or another, man, you're gonna keep carrying on that mantle that he taught you, and hopefully pass that on. I mean, that's what you can do to show some love and respect. And I mean, you have grown a lot, man. I mean, it definitely does show. I mean, for me, I was thinking about one situation, also in high school, also basketball, man. So we sticking to a script here, but I tore my ACL, going into senior year, man, which was tough, which was real tough. And I had a torn ACL, partial MCL, partial PC or partial meniscus, bunch of bone bruising. Like, my knee was just destroyed, man. Obviously I'm on one leg. I'm putting on a couple of LBs, you know what it is, but I was just in such a bad spot mentally and physically after that. And same thing, man. I had this physical therapist named Becky. I got to go find Becky, because I got to thank Becky too for just some of those lifelong lessons, man. But she just put it into perspective, and she said, listen, here's the deal. You're young. You can get through this. You can do a 12-month recovery like everybody else. You can get back playing basketball, working out, doing your thing 10, 12 months. Or I can absolutely kick your ass in here a couple times a week and you'll be back in 6 months. And I was like, okay, Becky, I see you. So
Shout out Becky.
Yeah, dude. I was like, Becky, let's get after it. We're getting after it right now. I'm here for it. And I got to tell you, man, I had to go to PT before getting surgery, so muscles don't go into atrophy and all that good stuff. And dude, I left there dripping in sweat, just covered in sweat after doing like stretching and the most minor stuff you could possibly do. And I realized how bad of a spot I was in mentally and physically at that time. And she put it into perspective, man. I was like, yo, if I grind this out, we are absolutely going to get through this. And I put that responsibility on myself. Like I said, this is 100% on me. Oh, woe is me. I tore my ACL. So did every other college and high school athlete ever, right?
Yep.
I'm sitting there feeling sorry for myself, but instead I try to take responsibility for the situation. All right, I got to get my legs stronger. I got to get my cardio up. I got to make sure that these injuries don't happen. And I have not had a serious injury since then. I've had little lingering things here and there, but I ran I've only missed like 40 days in the last year and a half of running. I haven't missed a day since May. My legs are stronger than ever. And I put that responsibility on myself. I was like, who's gonna fix my leg? Me. No one else can
Damn
go and
right.
do that for you. And dude, we keep going back to the fact that it's all on you. But when you take responsibility for that situation and put it on yourself, is my ACL tearing on me? I don't know. Is it just a freak accident with a cord in my shoe catching wrong? I don't know. But I took responsibility for it, man. And I got my weight down. I got back in shape and I'm as healthy as ever, man. And it's years and years later. And it's just a blip on the radar at this point. Never would I thought I'd be running half marathons and doing a triathlon after absolutely destroying my knee and thinking, oh, I don't know if I'm going to be playing basketball next year. That should have been the least of my worries, man. But like you said, you learn, you reflect, you grow, and man, shout out Becky all these years later for getting me right. Because if I did that lazy ass 12-month recovery, I don't know if I'd be grinding the way I am right now because she lit a little fire in there, man. She really did.
It's funny how like people that you wouldn't think
Mm.
could have that kind of impact on you do. It's like the little things. It's unbelievable. It's really cool.
I don't think you start your day as a physical therapist thinking, yeah, no, this kid's gonna be thinking about me 6 years later on a
No.
on a on a podcast talking about blame and responsibility, man.
No, I don't think anybody wakes up and thinks that. So actually, I shouldn't say that. Some people might. You never
Mm.
know. People are strange. But
I'm excited to look back a year from now, man, and see what responsibility you take for your triathlon performance and how many
uh,
spots you're going to move up in that because I know that's going to stick with you for a long time, man. And I'm excited to come back and have a live look in 8 months from now or whatever it is when you get back out there and do it again.
yeah, you're gonna catch me on a different uh mode. And it is funny that that did bother me. I hate
Mm,
losing. Even if I'm not like even if I didn't come like it feels the same from coming in last place to coming in second place. I
yeah,
hate
yeah.
losing.
Mm.
Bothers me. And that did bother me. I didn't sleep for a couple days after that one. But
Second
but
place, just the
regardless.
first loser, right? I mean, all the
Exactly.
same
Yeah.
at a
Well,
certain
who said
point.
that? Ricky Bobby? What's his name?
Talladega Nights. I have no
Yeah,
idea.
dude.
If you ain't first, you're last, man. That is what it is.
Yeah.
All right, man. You got anything else you want to say on the topic of blame and taking responsibility and blame versus responsibility at all, or you want to
uh
get towards these weekly goals and wrap this thing up?
yeah, no, I think we really hit the nail on the
Mm,
head. Just take responsibility for everything. Like anything that involves you. It's not anybody else's job to pull you out
mm,
in the gutter. It's your own. That's it.
mm. I like that. I like that a lot, man. And find that time to sit in some purposeful silence. That is a big key there too, man, because that's gonna start you on that path to growth and take your responsibility. But Brett, let's get into it, man. Let's talk about these goals. Let's talk about what we want to get into for next week. I'll start since you started last week, man. I'm gonna echo what I did last week, but I'm gonna do my simple body weight exercise to wake up those 2-3 minutes every single morning, all 7 days. Run and log, which that's a given. I'm gonna get the I'm gonna get the pod presence finished online. We're gonna start posting some clips and start sharing these episodes. I'm gonna throw apply for 2 jobs on there because man, I had been lazy as all hell about applying for some jobs. And then also one of my coworkers got me into this, man. I mean, I've done a couple 100-mile months already this year. I think I did 2 of them, but I'm doing 100 miles in November. That's another goal, It's like 3.3, 3.4 a day. I'm a little back right now, but I just did a 5 mile run 2 days ago, 5 mile run today. So I'm getting my mileage up. I'm feeling good. So those are some good, those are some good easy ones. And I hope you add something on there. And even if it's the same as last week, me getting in the gym with you or getting to work with you, man, hoping you can add a little challenge in there for me.
Yeah, come do mobility with me
All
because
right.
I need somebody to be there and just say, Brett, relax. Like it's not time for that. So,
All right,
so
so
yeah,
that's a
come to that.
selfish goal you just gave me
Just a
right
little
there.
bit, hey, man, you're
But
the one
hey,
that said you need accountability. I need it too.
yes,
Just
hey,
in a different way.
mobility day absolutely in the books as long as the gym lets me in, man. That's the thing. As
Yeah,
long as they'll let me in.
we're gonna go to LA Fitness.
All
Don't
right,
lie.
all
Can
right.
they're doing their thing. They just I don't who just gives up free money. I don't understand. fifteen
Also,
dollars is
we don't want to
$15.
rant on this, man. But it's a nonprofit. You got to make some money at some
Yeah,
point.
right. I don't. It doesn't make any sense.
Like we said last week, no YMCA sponsorship on this podcast.
Just one last thing too. When I asked the other day, I was leaving, and I like the guy that runs it. I forget what his name is. I don't think he knows mine either, to be fair. But regardless, I see him every day. And I was like, hey man, like one of my buddies, he came 3 times before while we were training for a triathlon, but that was a few months ago. So I mean, you think he could get in now? And he's like, why would you want to do that? Looked at me like I was stupid. I was like, bro, like it's $15. Like, he just wants to come work out. Like, I don't understand what the problem is. He's like, he should just get a membership. It's cheaper. He's not coming back. Like,
It's not cheaper when you go once a month, bro.
That's what I'm saying. It's still cheaper once a month, but whatever. Anyway.
All right, what we got for you, man? What we got for some goals here?
All right. Well, you showed me up last time because I had to think of 2 off the top of my head. I only had one.
Come
So
on,
I
man.
wrote them this time. So I said, stay consistent at the gym because I actually missed a day for the first time in like a year and a half. Right after I said it too on the podcast because we
That's
talked
tough.
about it before. And I was like, man, like I couldn't believe it. Alarm didn't go off, but again, took accountability for that. Now I have make sure that I have percent on my phone before I plug it into the charger so that it won't die on me. And then I another one, eat mostly clean. My fiance makes some fantastic brownies that I destroyed over the weekend. So need to eat mostly clean.
Got that
And
extra
then
Halloween candy rocking around, you know.
I hid that. I don't know where that went, but that's got to stay out of sight for me. And then my third one was get my interval training up to 0.3 miles per high intensity interval. I'm doing it for like 1.25 mile, 1.5. So if I could do the 0.3, I could get into like 4 really hard intervals, which would be fantastic. And that's at 10 miles an hour. So that would be a 6-minute pace. So that'll be pretty good. I'd like to get that moving. Want to get that up.
Yep.
Number 4, I want to keep posting my original thoughts on IG. I posted a lot of quotes starting the page, but I wanted to put something that is more original into it. So I started doing my own thoughts and the things that I'm thinking about that day or in the morning or whatever. I want to keep with that because I think
I
that's
like
more
that.
genuine and that's a better look. And the last one is a financial one. I want to find a new investment opportunity. I've been slacking. I haven't made a good one in months. And I've been like, I was wicked obsessed with it for a little while. And then all of a sudden, everything kind of took a turn for the worse. And then I just kind of got bored and did other things. But now it's coming back and I want to capitalize. So I got to find something good. But
I
yeah,
like
those are
that.
mine.
I like that. You know what I'm gonna give you for a challenge?
What we got?
You got to post one of your 5 a.m. posts on your personal page.
No, I don't
You
know
gotta
about that one, Chief. I
you gotta
don't
go
know.
find one. You gotta go find one you real like, and you gotta post it on your own page. You gotta get real uncomfortable. I can see how uncomfortable you are through the damn Zoom camera, man.
I know. I can't hide my facial
You
expressions,
go,
but
you go. Let's get uncomfy, Brett. Let's get uncomfy. You know, it's
yeah,
real
we'll see.
uncomfortable for me getting up at 4:30 in the morning and going to the gym. You can press a button and do a post. I promise.
But yeah, we'll see. We'll see how that goes.
You meant to say yes, but we'll see. We'll get back to that next week, and we'll see if get in there, man. All right, Brad. What we got to wrap this thing up, man? You got anything left, or you want to just sign this thing out?
No, man. Same thing I said last time. Get up and own your morning routine. Most important part of the day is the first few hours. Then that determines how the rest of your day might go. So get after it.
That's well said, man. And I'm gonna go. I said I just absolutely love this idea of purposeful silence, and that's how I'll wrap this thing up, man. I'll say, find some time this week to get in some purposeful silence. Have no idea how important that is. I'm already thinking about my running post. I'm gonna post tomorrow talking to the peoples about some purposeful silence, man. So I absolutely love that. Hope you guys enjoyed episode 2 of Accountability Connection. We're gonna get this thing going weekly. It's gonna be more consistent, and we're gonna be getting after it. That is a promise. And hey, anything you can do, hit like, subscribe, rate, review, press any button you can find on any of these dang apps. I'm sure it's gonna help us in one way or another. But I'm Chandler Hutchison. That's Brett Goodhue, and that's episode 2 of Accountability Connection, y'all.